Hey everyone, welcome to my first Well Balanced series episode. I'm talking with Hannah today, and this series is designed to just basically be an opportunity to connect with just practitioners and professionals and whoever else really has an intel into fitness, nutrition, mental health, and creating a well-balanced lifestyle. So I'm talking to Hannah, and she's my first guest, so I'm going to share this with her, and we will get the convo going. Hold on, let's see.
Hi.
Hey Hannah, how are you?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Good. Yes, can you hear me okay? I
Yep.
can never tell if things are connected or not.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, perfect. And this is your first live. How do you feel?
Great. I'm ready to go.
It's like feels really intimidating at first, and then it's literally just like we're talking with each other, Which we
Yeah,
are.
I mean, I feel like public speaking is like not my favorite thing ever, but trying to just like pretend like I'm chatting with you versus like anyone else seeing it. So, yeah, it'll be good.
Exactly. Yeah, good. I'm glad to have you. So I was kind of briefing the series. So basically, the intention of this series is just to kind of connect with people like you who are specifically women too. I love that conversation. With just like anything regarding like food freedom, diet culture, menstrual health, hormones, whatever,
Hmm.
all the things that we deal with, and just seeing how we can have different conversations and intel, and of course, help you grow as well as me to kind of see who's out there for us to work with and all that. Um,
Yeah.
so I just want to kind of get a little background on you and like kind of what made you start in this industry. And I know that you just finished with your master's, which congrats, that's a big thing.
Thank you.
Um, and then just kind of we'll go towards the conversation in that way based off of that conversation.
Okay.
So
Yeah, sounds good.
all you.
Well, first off, thanks again for having me. And I think it's super cool that you're doing these, and I'm excited to like see who else you bring on and kind of pay attention to all the other professionals you're talking with too. But um, I guess as far as what kind of led me to where I'm at now, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm a registered dietitian. Like she said, I finished up my master's last year and then um, kind of started working, and I have my own private practice right now. But so this was my second career. So I did 4 years of school, and I did like a business degree first, and I played collegiate basketball. So obviously, like a complete 180. Well, I guess not complete because like I'm using my business knowledge now, but like I
Right.
kind of had to start over when I went back to school. And I actually ended up working for a year in sales with the Denver Nuggets, actually, which was like a super cool job, but just wasn't like super passionate about the work.
Denver
And I think the
Nuggets?
Denver,
Is that like
yep, yeah, NBA
is
team.
that, oh, that's an interesting name.
Yeah, yeah. So it was super cool. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of realized I had like more of a passion for nutrition and health. And I think like, a lot of different things like led me back to, which a lot of it is kind of like my journey with food. And it's kind of like I feel like three things kind of like intertwined. So it was like I was having a lot of gut issues in college the
Mhm.
first time around. So like literally I ended up just with like an IBS diagnosis, which I'm sure is kind of just like we don't really know what is causing like your GI issues, which is super frustrating sometimes. But yeah, so I was having those issues in college, and it was super uncomfortable. I was also like, I think I've always just kind of had like body image struggles from like as long as I can remember. And then I was also like struggling with mental health a lot at that time too. And I think like those three things combined just kind of led to a lot of like disordered eating, that kind of like I think started more in college, and then kind of I guess was a couple years out until I really started learning more about nutrition, when I kind of was able to start healing my relationship with food a little bit. So that's a little bit of background, I guess, on just why I'm doing the work I'm doing now and why I'm so passionate about healing from disordered eating, and really just like learning to nourish our bodies in a way that's going to help us feel good and just you know, maintain and benefit our health long term too. So yeah, I think it's super important to have both of those things, both those like healthy habits and living a healthy lifestyle while also not being super extreme about it. So yeah, I think it was a lot of just like those personal struggles I went through. And honestly, like my intentions like probably weren't the best going back right away, because it was like, oh, I want to know what like the perfect like diet is, and I want to just like know how to eat perfectly and like manipulate my body and all these things. But the more I learned, the more it was just like kind of just, I guess, made me realize like that's not the most important thing when it comes to our health and eating. So yeah, I guess that's kind of what led me here. But I started my private practice probably 4 or 5 months ago, maybe now. But it's been so awesome. And I'm just like, I absolutely love my clients and working with them. So it's been, you know, I'm thankful for all those things that I went through that kind of led me here. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's super cool when practitioners and, you know, dietitians and everyone else has like a personal journey too
Mhm.
that they've dealt with, which I feel like is everyone, but it's like it's what leads you to having this passion to want to help people, and you understand what they're going through or what they've been through, so you now want to implement that. And I think you hit it on the head in terms of like this industry. I feel like from outsiders perspective, everyone's like, I have to be perfect, I have to, you know, eat all the time like really well if I'm going to achieve these goals or do these things. And it's not reality. It's not at all. And
Mhm.
it's like it's more stressful. And I mean, even for me, I went fearing like dairy and gluten and so many things for so long, and it's like, can is there a benefit to maybe not incorporating those in some capacities for some people, and you know, for certain reasons, for sure. But at the same time, like consistently going through your life fearing them and never having a healthy relationship,
Mhm.
that's never going to be helpful, right?
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
it's really awesome that you focus a lot on that.
Yeah.
Can you touch on a little bit? I think a lot of people, you know, the whole intuitive eating and the whole food freedom like kind of thing that's new now. Can you kind of break down maybe like your approach with your clients in terms of explaining kind of like what that means exactly,
Mhm.
and you know, if you practice that, you know, how are you kind of able to reach your goals while you're still eating well and doing all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing I thought of just like when you're talking about like trying to cut out all these different foods and stuff, because like I totally did that too. Like it was like, oh, try low FODMAP or try cutting out gluten and dairy. And I did like one of those like food sensitivity testings, which now I'm like, oh
Mm-hmm.
gosh, like please don't ever pay for like an IgG food sensitivity testing, because it just like comes back and it tells you you're like sensitive to like literally the list was like, it was so long, like
It
just the
wasn't so
longest
long.
list. Yeah, and it's like all like a ton of foods that are like, you know, very like healthy foods and stuff. And then it just makes you like fear every food too. And I think like when you have anxiety around food, like what I discovered with my GI issues is like my anxiety was causing a lot of them too. And it's like anxiety in general can cause that, but like especially if you're like anxious when you're eating too, that like these foods are gonna like make your stomach hurt or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
make you like gain weight or whatever. So that was just like a side note.
I did that this year
But
too, and it was an avocado, and I was like, I have avocado like 3 times a day, and I did give it up because it was acne related. So I was like, I'm very
yeah.
determined, but like I can still eat it now. But it's like the
Hmm.
food sensitivities are hard because they do help heal, but they're also can be temporary because a lot of the things that you give up are things you will eventually be able to bring back in. But also, it's
Hmm.
like it's not bad,
Yeah.
and it's also like still you want to heal the underlying cause versus like
Right.
just eliminating something temporarily, right? So it's just
Yeah.
there's a lot of feelings there too. I've had the same
Yeah.
experience, but
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. And that's definitely not to say like nobody has food sensitivities. Like they're definitely still a thing, but there's just like some
right.
tests out there that like aren't super like research backed when it comes to like GI issues and stuff. But um okay, so going back to your other question, just like you're kind of asking about like my approach and like how I work with clients and stuff, right? And like
Yeah, just kind of like breaking down like the word food freedom, like what that means. You know, I think people go into it like, oh, I can just eat whatever I want and, you know, never care
hmm
about that. And it's like, no, you need to obviously have a realization of like nourishing versus not nourishing in a sense,
yeah.
but like
Yeah.
explain that a little bit more.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think like you said, like, you know, food freedom is not just like eat whatever you want whenever you want. Like there's that portion of it that's like, okay, yes, you can like incorporate these foods that, you know, diet culture kind of deems unhealthy and still live a healthy lifestyle. Um, but that doesn't mean like you're literally just eating, you know, pizza and fries and cake and cookies like all the time, because you're also like digging into like listening to your hunger and fullness cues.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not trying to like get to a point where you're not eating past like that comfortable fullness like super often, where you're like binging a lot, because that, and then a lot of times that ends up leading to like restriction and then more binging and back and forth. But yeah, so you're like, we talk a lot about like listening to our hunger and fullness cues, like paying attention to how foods make us feel, because I mean, the reality is it is like, if you're, you know, eating super highly processed foods all the time, like you're probably not going to feel the best either. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, paying attention to how foods make you feel. And I will say sometimes like it kind of depends on where people are at in their journey, but like I've had some people who like right away maybe they do start to eat those like more processed foods, I guess, and like less nutritious foods right away for a little bit, but like it usually doesn't take very long for people to realize like they're not feeling good from that, and that once they
Mm-hmm.
like honestly allow themselves to like give themselves permission to have those foods, that desire goes down a lot too. So like, yeah, I mean, anyone can try it out. I'm sure if you're eating like pizza every day for a week, you're probably not going to feel very good, and you're probably not going to be craving pizza anymore. So I think it's, you know, when we have those restrictions around foods, that's what a lot of times make us crave things more. And a lot of people are just like so surprised that when they allow themselves to like eat whatever, you know, whatever they want in some terms, I guess, that those like cravings and those desire for those foods that they used to like binge on and overeat on just like diminish so much. So yeah.
Well, I think the cool thing is that like when you nourish your body, your cravings and your thing, then what you thought maybe was your treat changes, right? You know, like we used to think, oh, I want a Dairy Queen Blizzard, but like now I just want a piece of dark chocolate because it's
Yeah.
satisfying. It's sugary, but it's not like gonna spike my blood sugar. It's gonna keep me feeling good and feeling like I can have that healthy relationship, but I'm not, you know, going and eating a bunch of processed things.
Yeah.
So I feel
think
like
too,
oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, I think too, like, you know, it's not like we work on like how to like build balance and satisfying meals and snacks too, because, you know, when you incorporate like all the different components that you should, I guess, in meals and snacks most of the time, like you're left feeling a lot more satisfied with your meals. Your cravings do go down because you're not just like, you know, grazing all day or like having like random little snacks here and there that like make your blood sugar just like spike and drop and stuff. So like there is that nutritional component to like what you're eating too, to help you like to feel your best too. It's not just, yeah, it's definitely not just like eat whatever you want, but there is that aspect of like giving yourself permission to eat foods when you're craving them too. But yeah, when you use like nutrition strategies to optimize your meals and snacks, like you said, you start craving different things. You know, you find yourself not like thinking about food all the time and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that you mentioned the well balanced approach to food because that is so important. And it's like again, you can have, you know, cheese or you can have whatever it is, like crackers or whatever your thing that you like to eat for a snack. But like you said, pairing it with a protein, healthy fat, you know, greens, fiber, whatever, like all those things come into play to making it more of a balanced meal. So you feel like you're having the foods that you like, but you're also doing what your body needs and is asking for too.
Yeah,
so I think that's
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
So explain a little bit more about like, or I guess, what are some of the biggest like things women come to you with? I'm assuming that's your main audience, and just in terms of like, you know, the typical myths or the things that they come to you, and then you're initially like having to debunk almost on the regular.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think like carbs is a big one right now, just because that's like the big fear food. And I think I have like a couple other like job settings too, and like one of them, I mean, honestly, all of them, I guess. I feel like I have more people coming to me who are like not eating enough than are eating too much. And I feel like when I got into like, you know, being a dietitian, I just like thought like, well, I mean, I kind of thought like you had to do like weight loss because that's like what you do. And I just like, I thought I would be spending more time like telling people like to eat less or like have more balanced food, which I mean, we talk a lot about balanced meals, and I will say like,
right,
that's something like I see people struggling with a lot too, is just not having like super balanced snacks or meals. But there's just like so many more people coming to me that have either like just, you know, been on all these diets, or who are kind of engulfed in the fitness industry, as far as feeling like they have to count macros all the time and count calories, and just, yeah, I mean, I think carbs and just not eating enough are the two things I see super often, though, for sure.
So what's your approach with explaining how carbohydrates are good for us and a good source of fuel, obviously, but
yeah,
how do you kind of buff that?
I guess I just kind of explained that carbs are our body's main source of energy, and they're really our brain's only source. I mean, when you're not having carbs, your body can make ketones, but that's a whole nother topic. But pretty much they're our body and our brain's main source of energy. So, you know, when you're not having a lot of carbs throughout the day, or you're not having them consistently, a lot of times people do notice that their energy levels are low. And that's something too, even within a couple weeks of working with people, sometimes when they start to incorporate carbs more consistently, and, you know, obviously pairing them with the correct things too, you know, fat, fiber, protein, all the good stuff, and just eating more frequently, energy levels are just so much better. And, you know, it's kind of well, yeah, duh, but also people don't always think that it's going to happen for them. I think sometimes people are oh, if other people eat more, it's okay, but if it's me, it's not gonna work, or I'm gonna gain weight, or I'm not gonna feel good. But yeah, I think really just talking about how carbs fuel our body, talking about different types of carbohydrates too, because, you know, if you're restricting carbohydrates, you're restricting there's lots of good nutrients found in them too, whether it's whole grains, you know, legumes, things like that have carbs, fruit has carbs, so there's a lot of good nutrients you're missing out on too if you're restricting an entire food group.
Yes, and that's something that's it's just been such, it's the devil, literally, carbohydrates. I feel I was working with someone recently, and they were like, I fear carbs. I just don't know, you know, I don't know how to approach them. I don't know. She was doing a lot of keto, but then also it's just it's just, oh man, it frustrates me how we have all these rules, and it just starts creating these patterns and habits, and it's we weren't designed for that. We were just designed to eat food and have a balanced relationship with it, truly.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it's even back to the fitness side of things, it's a lot of women specifically focus a lot on how they look, and a lot of it, that is important. You want to feel good in your body, and you want to feel confident, you know, but not addressing the feeling part, and you were saying how we really feel internally, and if we were eating pizza all day long, or eating these, you know, crazy starchy carbs all day long, we're not going to feel good. But, you know, finding that balance between everything, and making sure that all three components aren't part of the picture, and feeling first, and then those looks and everything else kind of comes with time. Do you feel you deal a lot with that with the women that you work with?
Yeah, definitely. And I think also another big thing I run into is just I think just in general, our people are busy, and they don't want to take the time to slow down and eat too. So it's so easy to overeat or not feel satisfied after meals if you're just scarfing something down while you're trying to work and do a million things at once, versus if you're trying to actually be present in your meal and pay attention while you're eating, and not just scarf food down, actually chew your food and slow down a little bit. You're a lot less likely to eat to that point where you're uncomfortably full, because sometimes if you're when we're just rushing through things, you don't even realize if you're full or not. You just eat whatever is on your plate, because that's what you're so used to doing.
Right.
So another, yeah.
It's crazy how digestion, I never even thought about that even before. And it's no, just sitting down, eating your food, chewing 20 to 30 times is the average. No one does that, you know, when it's oh, and then that's the whole bloating thing that's come a big crave lately. It's that's not normal, you know, there's something going on there, and there's something very simple that you could possibly overcome and fix. But it's just thinking about, I think, the amount of stress, especially these past few years, have put on everyone. It's how are we managing it? How are we putting that into play? And I think it's we also have we usually think exercise and nutrition kind of as our main buckets, where I put a post up recently, and it was no, there's, you know, mental health, there's mineral balance, there's blood sugar, there's so many things that we're trying to figure out to achieve that balance lifestyle and healthy. And it's just like, it's overwhelming, but it's just like everything plays into each other, which I think is really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I see that a lot too, where it's like people think like nutrition and fitness are like the only things that like make you healthy. And actually I did like a presentation at like an Orange Theory around here recently, and I talked about that a lot too. It's like, no, like sleep, stress, like these things that like people don't want to like those, honestly, sometimes like food and like exercise are almost like easier to address than like making yourself like not feel stressed all the time and managing your stress and like getting like sleep actually and stuff. So I think I'm glad you like mentioned that too, because I think those are things people don't realize. Like it's not just food and nutrition or food and fitness that are going to like impact your health long term. Like there's so many other components to it.
I'm curious how that presentation went. How'd that go?
It was good. I mean, we talked about a lot of other things too, as far as just like energy expenditure, because I'm like, I think like fitness industry, you see a lot of like feeling like you don't deserve to eat if you don't like work out, or if you didn't work out for like at least an hour, like it doesn't count, and just really like restricting your food if you're not eating. Because I mean, I think it's good to have that view that like food is fuel, but like food is also not just fuel, and it's not just fuel for like your workouts. Like 60 to 70% of our energy expenditure and the energy expenditure every day is like towards our normal body functions. And I mean, typically for like an average person, like probably 5 to 10% of it is like actual exercise that you're using like your energy for every day. So I think that part was like pretty eye-opening for people in the fitness industry, and just that are like into fitness, is like people forget like, you know, that hour, even if you're exercising 2 hours, like that's still like a pretty small component of the 24 hours that you are awake, or not awake, but just the 24 hours in a day.
Say that's a long time.
Yeah. Never sleeping.
No, it's so I learned that recently too, and I was like shook because I actually started training at Orange Theory. That's how I started this whole journey of mine, and it was like you showed up, you did your workout, you went home and ate whatever you wanted because you earned it. And sure, you are here, you're showing up for yourself. Like there's definitely a testament to that, but it's just, you know, it doesn't work that way, and there's still so many other things that you have to address. And people were getting up at, I mean, I was training the 5 a.m. class, and I was miserable because I had to be up at 3:30 to be there at 4:30, and it was like, this can't be right. And it was like, I didn't even realize that it was even an issue until I finally quit, because I was like, I can't do this anymore, and it's wrecking me internally. And finally put all the pieces together. But I think, yeah, I think that like it's one thing to like work out for 1 hour of the day and then sit all day long doing meetings or whatever, versus consistently moving throughout the day. That honestly is more beneficial than, you know, just doing one and then never moving again. And I think, and like you said, like food is fuel, but like the way that you're serving your metabolism and boosting your metabolism with the right foods increases, you know, your energy and your output while you're sitting on the couch. So, and your calorie burn and, you know, things like that, and incorporating strength training versus just a bunch of HIIT and running and cardio. And it's all so crazy. And like, I think most people just, we've been so glued to learning certain things a certain way that this new approach is definitely hard to wrap your mind around. And I think it's overwhelming to even us, I feel like, to explain it, because we're like, we're not crazy, like this actually works. But yeah, so that's all great. I'd be curious to say, like, what we talked about stress a little bit, just a few more things, and then I'll let you go. But like, what would you say like are your top 3 things that you usually recommend to kind of like manage stress? Because it's never going to go away, but of course you find ways to stabilize it a little bit.
That's a good question. I feel like I mean, everyone's different, I think, for sure. I'm kind of like with my new like routine, or trying to get into routine still, just because like I kind of have my hand in a lot of different things right now. I mean, I'm sure you know how it is, like early on in your business, you're trying to do all the things in your business and all the things like other places to just like be financially stable and everything. But I guess for me personally, I think like number one is like prioritizing sleep. So, which we kind of talked about, isn't always easy, especially when you are busy, but like that's something like you can ask my husband. I take that very seriously. Like 10 o'clock is my bedtime, and like I don't care what I have to do, I am in bed at 10 o'clock. Like,
Love it.
I'm a grandma, And so that's one thing that's big for me. And then another thing that's just been big for me, just like in my journey with food and stuff too, is my faith. So I think like really setting aside time, usually in the morning, like part of my morning routine, just to, like do my daily devotional, like spend time in the word and praying and stuff, that stuff that is super
Love
important
that.
to me. So that's another thing that's big for me. And then I would say, I mean, along with like movement, obviously, like staying active and kind of like you said before too, just like instead of like, I noticed too, like when I finally started to eat more, like instead of working out an hour and just wanting to like sit and have no energy the rest of the day, like now that I actually feel my body, I have so much more energy to like go run around and play with my dog outside or just like whatever. So I think movement is super important for me too. And then I would say like what I'm trying to do better at now is just like creating boundaries when it comes to work. So like trying to like turn my screens off and stuff. That's like my kind of goal this year that I haven't been the best at yet, but like at least like 30 minutes before I go to bed. Because I mean that messes with like your circadian rhythm too if you're just like on your phone until like the second you go to bed. So I think just like creating boundaries too where I have time to like spend with my husband and my dog, where I'm not working, and that I'm just like enjoying them too. So yeah.
I love it. Yeah, those are all great. I think the blue light is definitely something most people struggle with right before bed. It's hard. I mean, I notice it's definitely a difference when I'm looking at my screen and then I like last night I think I finished up doing some stuff for school and then I turned my phone off. I turned my alarm on and put it in my bedroom and then was like not anymore and it was like 9, so I had a little bit of time, but I read and I just like went to bed, but I slept so much better. So
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you can just like I don't know, I feel like when I just like am on my screen and then I go to bed, my eyes are just like they just hurt. And yeah, I'm trying to get into a better routine of just like reading a book or something like the 30 minutes before bed. So yeah, we're working on it.
Hey, baby steps. We're not perfect either,
Progress, got perfection.
Exactly. I love it. Well, we will wrap up here. I just wanted to let you share kind of like where people can find you, how they could work with you, what they could do to support you on your end if they find that, they want to work together with you. So share that and then we'll be done.
Cool. Thank you. Well, yeah, thank you so much again. But you can find me I'm mostly just on Instagram right now. So hannahpodal.rd. And then as far as working with me, I still have a few spots open right now for my one-on-one program. And then I'm kind of working on starting my planning for like online course / group program. So hopefully that'll be coming in the future. It's probably a few months out though, but yeah, I would love to hear from anyone if they are interested. I have an application through like the link in my bio or whatever. So if you're interested, you can fill that out and then we can chat a little more and see if it would be a good fit.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks, Hannah. I appreciate you chatting with me and hopefully we can stay in touch. Where do you live again? Michigan?
Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Oh, I have a friend who lives there. I've never been to North Dakota. I've been to South Dakota.
Okay. Yeah, Grand Forks is like literally the second coldest city in the country. It's been like -30 to -50 wind chills for like the last couple of weeks.
Oh my God.
But,
were you born there?
I was born in a different city in North Dakota, but we're actually going to be moving in May. We're not sure where yet, but my husband's a medical student right now and he's doing orthopedic surgery for residency. So yeah, we're moving in a few months, so that's exciting too.
Hopefully somewhere warmer. That sounds a little unbearable. I can't do that.
I mean, it's honestly, it's only up from here. So like as far as all of our options, like
very true. You're going to go to Florida or something really hot.
Yeah.
Well, so hopefully you'll have a safe move whenever that happens. But it was great chatting and we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much. It was good chatting with you.
Thanks, Hannah. Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.